Do the Atlanta Falcons have one more move in the tank during free agency? Will they make that big trade? I will break all of this down in this video. And in this video, I will tell you who I think the Atlanta Falcons will end up drafting because of a lot of moves that they made right now. Right now, officially, it is a new year in the NFL. That means teams are now officially able to sign players. They were able to agree before, but now they're officially able to sign on the dotted line. And in that case, the Atlanta Falcons have made a few acquisitions. Number one, they have re-signed defensive tackle Taquan Graham. Signed him to a one-year deal. The details are coming out on that, but they signed him to a one-year deal. I think this is just a depth play. And to be completely honest, I know a lot of people don't want to hear this. I think this is a play that says they may end up cutting David Onyemata as well and moving on and trying to get some D tackles in the draft. I just think that that's what this means. Taquan Graham is, like I said, a depth play, and you can't carry 4, 5, 6 defensive tackles on the roster. They currently have, I think, 5 or 6 with Taquan Graham. So I think this could be a move shifting David Onyemata to that cut side of the fence. Now, moving on, also, the Atlanta Falcons did end up re-signing Kadero Hodge to a 2-year deal, $6 million. A lot of people says Kadero Hodge does a lot of his work on special teams, which he does, and he is a special team specialist. But I will say this, signing Kadero Hodge will give you some security in regards to not only scheme in regards to offense, but a receiver who could play just in case injuries do happen. We did see some lingering injuries with not only Drake May, but Darnell Mooney and Raymond McLeod. And Kadero Hodge not only knows the system, but he's a guy that has speed and has shown that he can come in a game when you need to and produce and give production. And for the Atlanta Falcons to basically secure up their wide receiver core, this means also that they're probably out on the Cooper Kupp train, which a lot of people thought that it may happen. There were some questions, but signing Kadero Hodge means Cooper Kupp is officially not coming to the Atlanta Falcons. Other than that, not too much news in regards to free agent signings. I think they signed a cornerback earlier today, but I want to get to the big news of the Trey Hendrickson trade. Apparently, that is still on the table, but there has been some news that come out that basically said the Bengals want a first-round pick and more for Trey Hendrickson. I think this is just them coming out and setting the price very high, and then if it falls down from there, then it falls down from there. There is one thing, though, that I can tell behind the scenes, and it's very encouraging, I think, for the Atlanta Falcons, is the fact that the Bengals will probably trade Trey Hendrickson. I just want to compare it to the DK Metcalf trade where the Seattle Seahawks basically said, we want a first rounder for DK, and then a team offered him. I think he ended up going for a second rounder, and then they ended up trading him. I think if teams are putting out price tags, that means they are officially not only trying to negotiate a trade, but they want to see a player move. You can't sell something if you don't start with the price. And the Cincinnati Bengals are starting with the price. Of course, they're going to say a first rounder. A lot of teams aren't going to give them a first rounder, but the Atlanta Falcons have a second rounder that they could entice Trey Hendrickson to come to Atlanta. Trey Hendrickson and the Cincinnati Bengals for him to come to Atlanta. And then they would probably pay $30 million a year. But here's another kicker. Trey Hendrickson makes $16 million next year. His new contract will come in the following year, and that following year, Kirk Cousins will be off the book. So Atlanta could afford Trey Hendrickson. I know there's been a lot of comments and a lot of questions about this. Also, other news, which was kind of discouraging, big time news, and it kind of came later in the day, and it is by Adam Schefter. He says, and I'll read you this tweet, sources, free agent quarterback Russell Wilson is scheduled to fly tonight to Cleveland to visit with the Browns on Thursday before being scheduled to fly to New York on Thursday night to visit with the Giants. I will say this. Let's cross our fingers and hope he goes to the Giants. This is not encouraging for the Atlanta Falcons fans because Kirk Cousins was deemed to be the number one option for the Cleveland Browns. And apparently the Cleveland Browns are talking to Russell Wilson. And if Russell Wilson goes to Cleveland, the chances of the Atlanta Falcons moving Kirk Cousins in this offseason pretty much go from, I would say, probably like 40% right now to pretty much like 5 to 10%. It's still plausible. Tennessee may need a quarterback if they decide not to draft Cam Ward, but the teams are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And Cleveland will be a great destination for Kirk Cousins, but we'll see. Let's cross our fingers. Watch out for that later tonight, and we'll hope Russell Wilson signs with New York. I think he will because it's a bigger city, a lot more flashiness for Russell Wilson. It's better for the brand, and I personally think it's a younger team that he can help come in and mentor, and he'll be interested in that. But I don't know. Last but not least, the Atlanta Falcons have had a major day today because pretty much 10 of their assistants showed up to the University of Georgia Pro Day. Now, I will say this. If the Atlanta Falcons team, coaches, and players and GMs come to something in the masses, that means they're probably going to draft a player from wherever they went to. The example last year was they took a team trip out to Seattle, Washington to watch Michael Penix play. Boom, he ended up on the team. They ended up drafting him. I think today was a big showing from the Atlanta Falcons. A lot of people are saying it might be the defensive tackle. I personally think it's the safety that they were looking for, Malachi Starks. I think that's their guy. And to be completely honest, if he's still there at 15 plus, I think they will end up taking him. I personally think they need to move back and get some more picks this year, but I think they think Malachi Starks is a bust-proof guy that essentially will not be terrible for them and will solidify the safety back end for them for the next 5 years. And so because of that, they showed up in the masses for the UGA Pro Day. A lot of people said they were looking at either that linebacker or the defensive lineman, that edge. I personally think they were there for Malachi Starks, but there is a tendency and a trend when the Atlanta Falcons brass show up to a pro day or to watch somebody, that tends to lead to them drafting that player, and that happened with Michael Penix last year. But those are the updates for today. If you could please do me a favor, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on the post notifications. We are on the journey to 3K subs. Help me out, please. And if you want to see more videos like this, check this one out right here. And like always, peace.